doing 31 miles an hour in a 30 zone. This was 116 kilometres an hour, not in a 120 zone, in a 60k zone. So it really is a massive blunder. But for a team that spent, the best part of 22 hours now fighting its way back into the mix, that is a hammer blow. Hammer blow for the number 84 Lamborghini. He's sitting in second place at the moment, but we'll have to work out shortly how far down that will drop them. But if it hadn't been for the puncture, Johnny Palmer, Mirko Bortolotti's car would have been in the mix the whole way through, quite plainly with the Mercedes, the Winward Racing Mercedes, and then we'd have seen the speed that the Lamborghinis had along the Duttinger Höhe and in the other fast parts of the circuit. Not so good, much twitchier. Who were we talking to earlier? Was it Philip Ellis talking about how the Lamborghinis have a tendency to go well but pick up punctures?
It was David Pitto.
It was Pitto, wasn't it? Yeah, because we've seen that a lot in the MLS.
The thing we were denied was the Lamborghinis also formation flying, like the AMGs have been doing lap after lap after lap. I mean, I know they've been separated now because of, well, initially they were separated because according to Fabian Schiller they were 45 seconds apart, they were locked into position. And then there's the massive drama for the number 3 AMG, which takes it out of the race. But could Lamborghini have played a similar game, switching their spots first to second, just to race one another into a supreme pace? They were teetering on the edge through the twists and turns of Sector 7 for sure, but there was not a car to match them down the Dottinger Höhe. And of course the jump start from Apelli kiboshed that from the off, then the puncture at the end of the Grand Prix lap for the pole-sitting car. And for Lamborghini fans of the race, pretty much a dream result ruined on the spot. How far can this 84 car get?
It might have been harder for the Lamborghinis to emulate the Winward Mercedes. Their performance advantage is most definitely was evident in a straight line. Their speed down the Dottinger Höhe, their speed down the long stretches of flat-out motor racing that goes on the Nordschleife, even though you are going through turns and kinks, there's still a flat-out section. Maybe the cars weren't as comfortably balanced in the twisty bits for those cars to be able to do that sort of formation flying. But yeah, I think, at the end of any race, you kind of look back to incurring penalties, whether or not how much time you lost in the pits, add that to your race time, or take that off your race time, I should say, and you'll see where you potentially would have come, which doesn't really help. And I've never really ever done that in any of my races to see where I could have came, team-wise or driving. You never do that. You're just going to rub salt in the wound, to be honest.
The two GR Yaris's, Toyotas obviously, have emerged probably deliberately out of pit lane now together. This one driven by Maurizio. It's an all-Japanese lineup, including Daisuke Toyoda and Hiroyuki Ishiura as well. So some fabulous photograph opportunities for Toyota and the Gazoo rookie racing squad as they head through Flugplatz now. And brilliant sunshine at 22:02 in the afternoon. So we're inside the final 90 minutes. And when we get to 69 minutes remaining, this is where the pit stop reference time switches to the number of minutes to go to the checkered flag. Not necessarily to the end of the race, of course, because, yes, we're counting down 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute to go. But where's the race leader at that point? And how many extra minutes are we going to have to that point? But this reference time is all mapped to exactly 3 p.m.
You were speculating as to what the gap is between first and second, Bruce. So Stoltz in the number 80 is 2 minutes 53. Might as well call that 2 minutes 54 ahead of the Bortolotti Lamborghini. That's the number 84, first and second. So just under 3 minutes. Now, a 3-minute gap on a conventional track would be a lap and a half potentially. Not so at the Nordschleife. That's just a third of the lap around maybe.
Yeah, but just remember what I was talking about. The number 84 Lamborghini has got an 86-second penalty for speeding in a code 60 and penalty points as well. But the main thing, add 86 seconds on, that puts it as 4.25 minutes or thereabouts. And as well as they've been driving Bortolotti and the gang, that ain't going to help them, I'm afraid.
There clearly was a 7-lap stint somewhere for the number 80 car, because as we left the scene, it had pitted on lap 122, then 130, and I predicted 138 as the next time it would need to come in. It either did and then did a 7-lap stint to lap 145, or it's done a 7 plus an 8. Anyway, the last time the 80 car pitted was a lap earlier than I might have expected. I think they're just playing it very conservatively now, and an opportunity to pit, perhaps where there was a little bit of code 60 out on the racetrack. And Lucas Stoltz is now on lap 147 with a near enough 3-minute lead over Mirko Bortolotti. I can't find any firm evidence to suggest that they have served the 86-second penalty. Maybe they're still arguing that up in race control, because they will have had a summons to discuss and maybe provide their own evidence with onboard cameras or similar. But you're sort of bang to rights, aren't you, with, what was it, Engstler doing 116?
116 in a 60.
In a 60. Yeah,
Not close,
I'm
no cigar.
very surprised if they get their way out of that. But like I say, I don't believe, well, I haven't seen any evidence yet that tells me they have served that, but I'm willing to be proved wrong in that respect.
Simon Strang's just reminded us, hello Simon, Maurizio is the boss of Toyota.
No less.
Yes. On his day off, racing in the M24.
Yeah. Incredible.
Commendable.
Well, no one can tell him
Thanks,
not to.
No, absolutely
You're the
not.
top man. I'm going over to race in Germany. But, you know, the Japanese love affair with the Nürburgring 24 Hours has gone on for decades. It started small, but it's always been a presence here. And it's just great to see the manufacturers still cracking on.
Japanese company, you could argue, put this race, this track on the global map by way of a computer game with Gran Turismo on the Sony PlayStation. So it was the Japanese that fell in love with this place and put it out to the world to share.
Well, it's one that just suits their psyche entirely, isn't it? A massive challenge with the endless elements of difficulty. How many days of your life have you lost to playing on the Nordschleife on Gran Turismo?
They're like their endurance game shows, don't they?
They do.
Some 24-hour races I've wished I'd get voted off so I could go home. But not this one, though. I'm quite happy to sit here to the checker flag.
Christopher Mies in the 67 Mustang from HRT, heading down into the foxhole. He's sitting in 7th position and still only within 5 minutes of the next car on the road, which is the 24 Porsche of Lion Speed GP with Lauren Heinrich at the wheel.
Except step back several steps because the number 67 non-respect of double wave yellows. Time penalty 87 seconds at this late stage in the race, and that's also 2 penalty points for the driver who accrued that. I don't know if it was Christopher or one of the other drivers. A real shame for Ford. They've shown great pace in this. One of the cars, the 67, has always been the fastest of their cars. The number 64 went slamming off at Brunchen early in the race for poor Aijun Maini, but the pace is there. This is the car. Earlier this morning, about 9:30, we saw the front end of the car coming up behind another rival, as we've seen over the decades at Nürburgring over the rises, but luckily came back down. And who was it who made that really interesting point this morning to us? Was it...
that was Philip Ellis.
Philip Ellis, about when the cars go out at the start of their stint, they've got... The weight of the fuel is... The tank is full and it's at the back of the car, so if it really sort of holds it down and the front is free to, relatively rise up.
He described preemptive lifts, slight lifts off the throttle just to keep the nose down as they go over those rises when they get behind the wash of the car in front. It's as if this place isn't complex enough to drive around and race on. Just add in a little bit more complexity there when you just happen to get behind a car with a bit of aero wash.
A code 60 had appeared at Callan-Hard, but then Christopher Mies has just gone through Metzgersfeld and the right-hander at Callan-Hard, and it's all clear. So I think that's a bit of misinformation, and I wonder whether the whole of the track may well be green at this stage. As an ice curver, Mirko Bortolotti in the Red Bull Team Abt Lamborghini, timed at 2 minutes and 50 seconds adrift of the Mercedes, car number 80. Now, going back to my notes from earlier on, I had the Lamborghini pitting on lap 126, therefore it stopped again on lap 134. 142 it should have been in, and its next stop will be in 4 laps time, in fact, because the Bortolotti car is about to complete lap number 147. So once it does that, another 3, and the Lamborghini will need to come in. Is that the stage when the car will need to serve a penalty? And the team looking after this car are going to have to be really on the ball, because the minimum stop time changes every single minute for the final 69 minutes, and you've got to know what time the car reaches pit lane. It's in whole minutes, so I think rounded up to the nearest minute. But if you pit, for instance, with 30 minutes to go, you've got to be in the pits for 1 minute and 47 seconds. 25 minutes to go is 93 seconds, but it changes with every single minute that is elapsing between now and the end of the race. We're not quite in that phase, but we will be in 5 minutes' time.
I think the thing is that a similar rule is used in the Nürburgring Langstrecken Series race, but they're only 4 hours long, so you know if you pit early and get a quick first pit stop, you're going to be pitting further from the end of the race there for your final pit stop, and therefore have a longer pit stop. But you can remember what happened at the start. But, you know, here we are with you know, approaching the end of 24 hours and trying to remember what happened in the first part of the race. It's a tricky business.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, hasn't there?
I can't, frankly. I remember the big shunts, unfortunately, for Kevin Estre and for Argent Miney. And Alessio Picariello had a monster crash as well in the night in the number 17 Dunlop Motorsport Porsche. There are some very badly damaged GT3 cars that may need to be being raced quite soon. Is there not a prologue at Spa in the coming week for the Spa 24 hours? Tuesday or Wednesday?
I think you're right. Yeah, I think it's very, very soon.
So if you plan to take a GT3 car from here to there and it's in bits, you're going to have to get on the phone and find a replacement.
It's relentless, isn't it, the season? European motorsport season, endurance season, that is, kicking up underway. We've got, when is Spa this year before Le Mans?
No.
All right, it's just the prologue. That's
last year we had these on consecutive weekends: Le Mans, Nürburgring, Spa. This time the order's completely shuffled with gaps in between. Just remember though, the top GT3 drivers like Lucas Stoltz, we're looking at him at the moment in the race leading number 80 Winward Racing Team Ravenel Mercedes. They could be anywhere on the planet pretty much racing GT3 cars. Contracted to Mercedes, could be appearing, for example, in GT World Challenge Asia, could be GT World Challenge Australia, GT World Challenge America. They could also be International GT Open, national championships like British GT. They clock up the air miles, trust me, Joe.
Philip Ellis on the way to Watkins Glen for a test for the 6 hours.
For Tuesday and Wednesday.
In the American series, the IMSA series.
The Intercontinental GT Challenge, 5 races, of which this is round 2. So we started with the Maguire's Bathurst 12-hour on the 15th of February. This is the second round. Third race is the end of June for the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa across the 27th and 28th of June. But practice sessions begin on the Thursday, the 25th. Then the Suzuka 1,000 kilometres, which is the second weekend of September. And the Indianapolis 8-hour, presented by AWS, is the 8th, 9th and 10th of October. And then, of course, there are 2 of those races form part of other championships, like the GT World Challenge Europe and the GT World Challenge America. You've got to remember which mode you're in through the course of the GT3 year.
Right, confirmation. Thank you very much to Emma Spearing. The prologue for the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa next week, 19th and 20th of May. So some teams will have to take more than a sponge and bucket of hot water, won't they, to get their cars back in ship shape for that. But
19th,
again,
that is Tuesday and Wednesday.
Shall we wave as we go past on the way back?
I mean, it may...
In fact, I'm going there on Thursday, having been back home in the UK.
We can get some stories ahead of the race at the end of June. To be honest, it makes sense, because what is the drive from here to Spa? 90 minutes?
Yeah, thereabouts.
So many of the GT3 drivers are here anyway, with hopefully cars that are still straight. So why not just piggyback the test days, the prologue days, and extend the weekend yet further?
And of course, you mentioned the drivers, Johnny. More importantly, the trucks are here to transport the cars and all the kit and equipment for the teams to operate on that 2-day test at Spa-Francorchamps.
Different countries, same cars, different beers. It's what's not to like.
True enough.
And also 2 epic circuits. You know, coming off this, which just never fails. Number of races I've done here or commentating from abroad, you just got to love it. I could sit all day watching onboard laps because you're still trying to vaguely learn. And then Spa-Francorchamps, again, one of the classic circuits. That, of course, is an all GT3 race, and it's just the figures are huge. Just a few weeks ago, we had, of course, last weekend, wasn't it, Johnny? We were commentating on it, Spa-Francorchamps World Endurance Championship, and they had over 100,000 spectators. We've had over 320,000, was it, here over the course, or 340,000 here, the Nürburgring, and the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa is going to be another belting time. You know, these are great days in racing at the moment, and for me, this element of Max Verstappen going, I don't want to only do Formula One, which I'm not enjoying desperately at the moment, but I want to come and do the classic races. I absolutely love that.
Well,
and he's got on.
I know.
Just showing how good he is.
352,000 people.
352,000. Wow, we're heading towards 400,000. I was going to say, Max Verstappen is the sort of guy who will definitely be taking the racing line in the supermarket with his supermarket trolley through the cold meats into the tin stuff and onto the bakery, and will probably be shaving some time off his lap time as he picks which loaf of sourdough he wants.
It's rude not to, isn't it?
No question.
Life should be like that.
He's a racer. and he's mixed it up with these high-level professional GT endurance drivers, and did not look out of place at any part of this. Been phenomenal to watch it.
The two GR Yaris are about to be caught by Mattia Drudi in the third-placed Aston Martin Vantage from Valkenhorst, and also Mattia's got a Porsche, Pirelli-shod Porsche, immediately in front of him at Adenauer Forst. So the Toyotas do the gentlemanly thing there. They are still formation flying from possibly their last pit stop. They might have to come in for just a quick blast of fuel to get them to the finish. But we now have 69 minutes of the race to go, about to be 68. So we are now into this second document where the maximum amount of time you spend in the pit lane is 3.5 minutes. The shortest time, if you come in with 1 minute to go, you only need to spend 28 seconds in the pit lane. But there's this massive sliding scale of, as I say, every single minute has a different amount of time. And I'm expecting the 80 Mercedes to need some more fuel on lap 153 as if the pattern is playing out. As I say, the last stint may well have only been 7 laps. And are they just trying to shorten slightly each of these final stints, because it just makes it more of a rhythm to keep to? They're not having to push like crazy, though, here, Bruce, because, you know, you'd very much enjoy going into the final hour of a 24-hour race with a lead of over 2.5 minutes from your nearest rival.
Absolutely you do. And many a race here, it's been, you know, absolutely neck-and-neck racing into the final hour, and therefore your scope for adapting your tactics is really removed. You've got to be either proactive, reactive to someone who's immediately around you. Then, of course, there are the moments where if someone's close enough and you get the wrong side of a yellow flag zone that gets lifted before they get there, suddenly what looks like a comfortable lead. And we've seen the very fastest cars through no fault of their own losing 14 seconds to arrive just on one lap. That was before we got to sunset last night. So you can't rest on your laurels, but with a 2 and a bit minute lead and the knowledge that the car in second place, the number 84 Lamborghini from Red Bull Team Apps, has got a penalty coming up of, what was it, 87 seconds. Surely you're safe. But then again, 3 hours ago, surely the number 3 Mercedes Winward Racing, the car that Max Verstappen has driven so well with Danny Juncadella and the gang, surely that was heading to victory. And then it came in for what we thought might be a vaguely standard pit stop. He went back out with Danny Juncadella. Next time in the pits was far too soon, and suddenly the rug was pulled out from under its feet. So for Max Verstappen, Jules Gounon, Lucas Ayer and Danny Juncadella, the day was good, the night was fantastic, and then this day, the Sunday, not so good. It's 24-hour racing.
There's some intense conversation going on down at Red Bull Team Apt, surely concerning the 84 car. It was mainly team members chatting amongst themselves rather than an event official in there. But I still wonder whether this penalty hanging over the 84 is waiting to be served. It's still going to stay out. When am I expecting the Lamborghini to next need to pit? That was the completion of lap 148. So it'll do 2 more laps from this point, and then we'll see it in for some fuel. And 2 more laps from here is 16 minutes, so that will be its final pit stop. But the massive question is, does it also have to serve a penalty that's almost 90 seconds in addition to the time prescribed in the regulations? Down the hill goes Bortolotti into the Paget left-hand corner, and then down the hill. Now, are the Red Bull Apt mechanics talking amongst themselves? Yeah, it just looks like they are.
But I think that's a pre-pit stop briefing.
All right. Just serious faces, but and normally you wouldn't have to have this conversation because it's all very well rehearsed. Everybody knows what they're doing. Unless it's a conversation of, right, this is how many minutes that to go there will be, so this is a rough amount of time that we're going to need to stop for and try and be as quick as possible. What did I say, 16 minutes, that'll take us to about 14 minutes past the hour. So I reckon 46 minutes to go. So that's about a 2.5 minute pit stop, 2 minutes 30, nice round figure.
Or are they preparing to address a problem that the driver might have? Brake pedal going long, right, we're going to bleed the brakes is what we need to do.
Bortolotti's onto the Nordschleifer, so he doesn't need to think about pitting. Not that he would at this stage. I think he'd drive the wheels off the thing, literally, before he is tempted into the backdoor entry of the pit lane, because the lap you've just started a minute and a half ago would immediately be deleted and have to do it again. They want to just keep pounding round and hope that things go well, but there's only an hour and 4 minutes still to go, and Bortolotti's going to be slightly delayed here by one of the Cup 3 Porsche Caymans, which has lots of untidy tank tape across the nose cover of that car, an attempt to keep it down at the higher speeds.
Right, what we've got, the gap between second, which is that Bortolotti-driven number 86 Red Bull Team Abt Lamborghini, and the car behind, which is the 34 Walker Law Motorsport Aston Martin Vantage, Matteo Drudi at the wheel. That is 2 minutes and 1 second. The time penalty coming up for the 84 Lamborghini is 86 seconds, 1 minute and 26 seconds. It could be incredibly close between the pair of them. And even at a late stage in the race, Huber Racing Porsche being shoveled off the track in avoidance coming out of the Vidal chicane. So minding its own business, 3 other cars around it at the time, none of which were in the same class. None of them are in Cup 2. So jeopardy is still there. A little switch from the car in front, I think slightly distracted the driver of 925. And that's
John Miller, by the way.
Oh, yeah, okay, good.
So
5th in class, so it's looking like a good result. Lost a bit of time, but luckily, thus far, it doesn't look as though it's picked up a puncture by going across the rough stuff.
Through goes the race leader, Lucas Stoltz, and he is just trying to work out precisely where on the track, nearing Brunchen. Yeah, that's this right-hander here. In fact, this is the run down into Flansgarten, more accurately, so not very far away from the approach to Stefan Beloff S and the Schwabenschwanz, and then let that mighty 6.2 litre V8 do its stuff down the Dottinger Hohe. Lauren Heinrich in the Porsche hasn't given up necessarily catching cars ahead, because he's trying to pressurise, at least put some timing screen pressure onto Jens Klingmann in the BMW M3 Touring. There is a tight gap still between Chris Meese and Bastien Boos in their Ford, Mustang and Porsches respectively. Just 12 seconds separate the 67 and the 54 cars for 7th and 8th.
12 seconds on a normal circuit that didn't have 161 cars starting on it would still be a comfortable margin, but round here we've seen the fact, an incident, and that can go in the space of just a lap, maybe even half a lap. Something slows the car in front, and then suddenly a car can attack from behind. And actually, what's remarkable, we started, as I say, with 159 cars. Sorry for my over-exaggeration there, but I think we've still got about 120. Yeah, 120 cars still in the race. That's not a bad call, is it?
Well, yeah, just working my way up to find a definite retirement. Raffaele Marciello's BMW is out of the race, isn't it? Which is listed as 139th after it had a moment catching one of the BMW Z4s in the night time. Also Morris Schuring's Falcon Motorsports Porsche, the SP9 car, had a pirouette on the grass. He's 137th place. And others. Anyway, but many fans will be very happy that the Dacia Logan is still running. And Lucas Stoltz in the number 80 Winward racing car still leads here at the ring. If you weren't around almost 24 hours ago, 23 to be exact, then a huge crowd assembled both here at the grandstand area of the Grand Prix Strecke, but then in the massive campsites around the Nürburgring, which house huge structures, camper vans, marquees, and then the start-finish straight, which was flooded with the cars that would be starting in Startgruppe 1. And remember, an open starting grid to members of the public to get very, very close to the various cars on very different rubber as well. Fans able to meet drivers before we actually got going, those drivers that weren't selected for the opening stints, of course. The flares going off, creating visibility problems, and how close can you stand to the edge of the track at Hatzenbach? Very reminiscent of a Finnish rally stage. But everybody would be put to a safe location in time for the racing laps, as so many different flares and also the barbecues as well, adding to the smoke prior to the 3 o'clock start on Saturday of the 54th edition of the ADAC Ravenel 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. And things got very busy. 2 positions up alongside one of the Ford Mustangs. Marco Mappelli's green and white Lamborghini going way too early versus its teammate from the front row. So actually that green car should have been in second place, but was leading over the lifted off the road of his Mercedes. He put that straight out of his mind though, with a fairly forceful overtake Audi R8 LMS. A little too eager perhaps coming out of a Code 60, drilling the spin on oil from another Porsche. And he desperately tried to get it back, but whacking the barrier Mercedes after Jules Gounon got a bit boxed in amongst traffic. He would pick off the 80 Mercedes as well around the very next corner. And then the 2 Mercedes going side by side through Schwedenkreuz. A brave overtake to the outside for Luki Auer on Fabian Schiller, which he just about pulled off in time for Arenberg, but there was still drizzle in the air. There was an awesome, as did this incident with Alessio Picariello's Dunlop Motorsport car hitting the